Hello, everybody. Thursday evening, time for a live. It's funny, I get on here and every week I'm compelled to talk, and it always says, "We're telling your followers that you've started a live." So you have to basically wait on them. My chair is kind of squeaky. Need to get some WD 40. Hi, Ashley. What's going on, people? So glad y'all could join us. Come on in. This should be fun. Excited to talk to Miss Amanda. Cool deal. There's the lady of the hour. Anyway, we will bring in Miss Amanda and my favorite time of the night. Hey!
Hey!
What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually over at my mom's house because she has better internet than I do. I didn't want to get kicked off of live.
Well, after all these that I've done, I've had some crazy stuff happen. I've had once or twice, if I got totally booted. One time I had to reboot the modem, so that was 4 or 5 minutes to get restarted. And then once my phone died, and I had to get another charger, so that took some different things. So you never know. It's the internet. I think there's a little bit of grace for if we screw up. So we're just going to chat it up.
That's what happens when you go live. This is my first time going live, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You're not the first person that has told me that. So it's some people evidently just don't like doing lives, but I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at convincing people to go live with me. So
I think so. I think you have a knack for it.
It's fun. Cool. Well, I'm super excited to have you here, and I've loved following your journey for a long time now. I can't even remember how long it's been, but I've been very, very engaged with following you and how you do WW. So I'm just, super excited to pick your brain a little bit and see how it goes. But, I always want to start off, and then we'll go from there with how you found out that WW was there and it would work for you and what it meant and your perceptions of what WW was before you even started it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I remember the first time I actually ever discovered it was right after college. I want to say I was 20, and I was like, right after your first year of college.
Yeah.
The pounds just come on. And I think I did it for about 3 weeks and then realized how broke I was. And as a 20-year-old, and I was like, yikes. But when I first came back to it, almost 2 years ago now, it's been almost exactly 2 years, I just was at a point where something had to give. It just was, I didn't know what to do. I was so depressed, so miserable, and food was my best friend. That was all I could do. But it just is a cycle, you just keep going. You're uncomfortable, you're depressed, you eat, and then you're uncomfortable, depressed, you eat. So that's where I was. And something had to give. And somebody that I went to high school with actually had posted on Facebook that she'd been doing WW, Weight Watchers, when I started, and she was down 30 pounds. And, I was sitting in my mom's living room, actually, same house. And, her and I mean, we both kind of struggled with weight our whole lives. And she just looked at me and said, well, why don't we just do WW? Why don't we do what Brandy's doing? I mean, what's it gonna hurt? So I said, screw it. Yeah, okay, fine, let's do it. Pulled up the app right then and there, signed up for the 3-month trial, and there was no looking back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So that was 2 years ago. So we're talking WW Freestyle had just come out.
Yep. I think it had just been launched. Yeah. About maybe a month or two before then. So I mean, that was, Weight Watchers, there's only one plan. So let's give it a go, give it your best shot. And I think that's where I was too. I was looking for something that I could honestly give my best shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tried so many other things before. You know, you give it your best shot for 3 weeks, and it's stuff like, you know, shakes and diet pills and just not sustainable stuff.
Mhm.
And, you know, it was 6 months in, and I'm like, I'm still going. Like, I'm
Yeah.
giving this my best shot, and I'm still going. And I don't feel like it's negatively impacting my life. You know, you just kind of kept going. And, you know, here I am. And it's like, it's something that I don't ever plan to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So as you started, like what really started to kind of make sense for you? Like, was it changes in the types of food you ate, or the how much you ate? Like, and I guess you were pretty heavy into the app and that kind of stuff, so it was giving you a lot of information. But what were you changing immediately?
Well, so actually, immediately, I decided I wasn't going to change anything. The first 2 weeks, I just wanted to see what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there are things that you do when you cook, and you think, oh, well, this has got to be healthy. You know, it's advertised as healthy. So I wanted to figure out if what I thought was actually good for me and good for my body, and if it was actually good for me. And so I just started using the app. I just started using the tracker, using the barcode scanner. I would pull out the barcode scanner when I'd go grocery shopping, to just kind of figure out what I needed to change, maybe what wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And it just kind of slowly progressed from there. You know, switching out the creamer for sugar-free creamer instead of full-fat creamer, just little things like that. I started to use Splenda instead of sugar. I mean, just little changes until I felt comfortable with it.
Yeah.
A baby steps kind of girl.
I totally get it. I totally get it. So after you started doing the micro changes, like what did your actual weight loss look like for the first like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months?
Man, the first month, I'd say even the first like 2 to 3 weeks, it was down almost 10 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
Just immediately changing. And it obviously slows down from there. I think those first initial weeks, you get all of that extra bloat out. You know, you kind of start with the portion control. You start eating a lot more fruits, a lot more 0-point foods, to kind of fill you up. Because then once you really start to kind of work with those points and figure out what you have been doing, you start to work with those points, and you start to try and stay within them and figure out different foods that you can eat and feel full. And the foods that, I mean, I think in my first 6 months, I was still having my Domino's pizza almost every weekend.
Making it work.
I didn't cut that out at all. And I think that was probably the biggest turning point for me, was realizing I could still do that, and I could still be successful, and I could still, you know, lose the weight and feel good and not have to cut out my favorite things.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about food for a little bit. So like when you think about your week or your day, like what is, and you said you do track, you love the app. So how do you approach a day or a week? Like what is your approach for food?
Yeah. So I am a huge meal prepper. That's
okay.
And I was actually even meal prepping before I started WW. So it looked a little different, but it was more of a cost-effective thing. I work in a place where there's only a couple places around. There's a teriyaki joint, there's a Jack in the Box, there's a McDonald's, and that's about it. And that was adding up a lot. So for me, it's meal prepping. And I know a lot of people will meal prep and they can't eat the same thing every day throughout the whole week. And I can. It's just one of the things that, I mean, if I like it, I've definitely made some meals where I'm like, oh man, I can't do this for 5 days. But that's all, I mean, that's the experiment. That's what I like about it. Instagram especially, I just sit there and I scroll, save posts if I see something that looks good. And when it's time on the weekends to sit down and come up with my meal plan and grocery shop, I just go through that and I find what looks good. And then I figure out how to work it into my day.
Who are some of your favorite Instagram foodies?
I'd say the Skinniest Dish, man, she is, I made so many of her recipes. Weight Watcher Pound Dropper, Drizzle Me Skinny, My Busy Kitchen.
Yeah, of course.
Man, there's just, and that's what I love is you find one and lead you to another. They lead you to another and another and another. And I mean, there's just so many different pages out there now.
Have you got onto Air Fryer yet and Everything Erica?
Yes.
There you go.
Well, and Biz led me to Erica. So
yeah,
you keep going. And that's what I love too, is there's no one trying to cut each other down and, oh, I had this recipe first.
Yeah.
No, here's my version and here's my version. And I mean, they're all great.
That's what's so great. And I don't know how long like this part of the community has been there. Of course, I've been in the community since 2017 and following along and learning how to change my food and where I wanted to substitute food and where I wanted to bring back in like we'll call real food or whatever, because there's sometimes when like it makes sense to use fat-free cheese, and sometimes like, oh, you want the real cheese and let's make it fit. But as this community with around me has grown, and I've seen that, I really see where a big thing that I wish people could really embrace is not thinking you have to do all this on your own. There are people like the ones we just mentioned that have really done all the work. Very Michelle and D Ward cooks I cook D Ward's cook food at least 3 to 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And like it's not necessarily like I'm preparing a whole meal of his, but I'll take like his Italian sausage or something, and we will make a whole bunch of it and use it. And like I make these omelets that have his sausage in it, and we eat them every day. That kind of stuff. Like you just start to integrating that, and there's no reason for me to go out and try to recreate the wheel and just bring all this stuff. So I love people that are creative like that. Yeah. But for me, it's all I'll give them the kudos forever. Like I'm not creating anything. This is all you, but I'm gonna eat it because it's good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's where I am too. Like I'm not a recipe creator by any means. Every once in a while, just you look in your fridge. What do I got? Let me just try and throw some random stuff together. Am I going to call it a recipe? We'll see how good it tastes. But no, I love I can follow directions and I'm really good at that. And that's what I love all these other accounts for is they tell you what to do. They give you the little tips and tricks. If you read their blogs and don't just skip to the recipe, you get a lot of good stuff and a lot of good food. There's so much stuff out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I bet there's probably, well, the funny thing is like I could probably name 10 or 15 that are amazing. And then beyond them, there are probably another 10 or 15 or even 100 that I don't even know about yet that are doing the same thing or have done something, maybe not on the grand scale of a pound dropper or whatever, but like instead of 200 recipes, maybe they only have 20. But I bet out of those 20, there's something that's amazing that I would love. And it's so great that it's all just give back to the community. Like take the time to actually show how this food can be embraced, and it's quality, good, homemade food that's good for you and not full of all the things. Like there's a reason why food has to have a long shelf life when it's made prepackaged. And after a while of eating that over and over, like I've really come to the realization on that, for one thing, which I know you are a bar eater as well. Like we've shared a love for like Quest bars and stuff like that. Like I feel like they're good and they taste good and they solve the problem. Yeah. But if I eat 1 or 2 a day, every day for 2 years, how much of what am I putting in me? Right. So it really makes a sense with my food as well. Like to take the time to cook is one thing, but to take the time to cook good food and quality food, that's really investing in you. And there's nothing but positive fruit that comes from that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, exactly. I feel like most of the recipes that I find off the internet and that I'm recreating, over half of them are filled with vegetables. Like that's the main thing. And, and I think that that's where I kind of gravitate to those because I know that I am making most of my meal off of those good foods they're going to bring you, those benefits that aren't in a prepackaged item. You're going to take the time to chop them up, simmer them down, do whatever you have to do with them. And then you start adding in the elements that add the points or, and a lot of the recipes that I find too, like you were mentioning, sometimes you just want the real cheese versus the fat-free cheese. And I go through those stages too, where, for instance, with the sugar-free creamer, like I can only do it for so long. And then I got to I've used nut pods before. They're all natural. I mean, I feel like sometimes you feel the difference too. You feel more energy. But yeah, I mean, with the bars, sometimes I can only do them for so long. That's why I have to. I mean, Built Bars. I've purchased those in the past. They're great, but they're almost too good. And there are
Yeah.
some foods that I still figure out whether they're healthy for you or not, or they're low in points or whatever. They're still kind of triggering. That's one of those things. And I found myself eating 2 of those a day. And I was like, yeah, this isn't really a healthy habit. Like, sure, they're lower in calories, they're lower in points, but is that a healthy habit that I want to keep?
Yeah. Have you tried my Heat bars yet?
Which ones?
The Heat bars, the ones that I always talk about?
Yes, yeah, I've tried them. Those are good. I actually got some at a WW Portland meetup last summer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they came in a little swag bag. Those are good.
Heck yeah. And like, it's like grandma made me a cookie and I'm like, I love it so much.
Right.
Anyway, all right. So
question if those are good for you or not. Like, those are just the ingredients of those. You don't have to feel any questions about it. I mean, yeah, those are really good.
So how do you approach like the actual tracking of your day? Like when you start your day and you see all these smart points, like what is your approach? I like to share people's different approach because I mean, for me, like I immediately start to figure out my day and I break it up. And there's been a lot of days where it's 5:30 in the morning, I'm drinking coffee and my whole day's tracked. I'm done. I don't have to even go back into the app. If I go back in, it's to see what I've already allotted at this point of time in the day. What is your approach?
So I think, I mean, with the meal prepping, it does make the days a little bit easier to track for me because I'm tracking typically the same exact thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, sometimes there's a little variation. I might not have as much coffee in the morning, so I'm not using as much creamer. I might run out of something halfway through the week, and then I kind of have to come up with a second game plan. So for me, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is pretty much set. I know the points. In fact, that's when I'm making my meal plan and I'm writing out what I'm going to eat, the points go right next to whatever I'm doing breakfast. This is what I'm having. I'm doing the points. And I just actually recently switched to greens. So it's been an adjustment with the amount of points that I have. But it's also very similar, I'm finding out, because I'm still eating a lot of the same foods. I'm just tracking certain things that I wasn't tracking before, but I also have the points for them, like eggs and chicken. I'm still eating them, but I'm having to remember, oh yeah, you have to track that now. Snacks is where it gets a little bit different. I try to plan the majority of my snacks to be like a fruit or a vegetable. But I've been doing yogurt bowls recently. I'm really liking those. And I'm just giving myself more points for like the granola that goes in them. And sometimes, I mean, I get halfway through the day. We all have days where things don't go exactly as you plan them. And I'm kind of swapping stuff around. But one thing I think I've noticed is I never wait to the end of the day to open that up. I don't think I've ever done that. Unless, of course, I'm choosing not to track. And sometimes it'll be a couple hours if I've eaten meals, but if it's something that I haven't really planned for that day, it's going in my app either as I'm eating it or right after, so I know what I'm working with for the rest of the day. I mean, I've definitely switched up my dinners based on if I had too many snacks at work or, whatever the situation is. But I'm usually either tracking as I go or I already know what's going to be in that app. Weekends are a little bit different, though. I don't do weekends that way. My meal plan is for Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So weekends, I kind of just decide what kind of weekend I'm going to have. And I usually do that before I get to the weekend so I can kind of have a game plan in my head, where are we going for breakfast? Where are we going for breakfast? Are we going to some place that we usually go to? Starbucks, I think I know what I'm going to get. I know how many points I have to work with. But I think also, going out to eat and things like that, after you've been doing it for so long, you're kind of able to just look at a menu and and add it up in your head. And then sometimes I'm like, man, I'm not sure. So I will pull up the app before I order my food to kind of figure out what I'm working with. And if I've had a heavy point breakfast, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch and dinner to try and stay within those points. Or if I've decided, you know what, I'm using all my weeklies today, then that's what I'm going to do too. But it's still going in the app, still going in my tracker.
So how do you, what is like your personal signal? Okay, I'm done for the day. Like, is it just time of day, or is it actually listening to your body and knowing you're not hungry anymore? Or like 9 o'clock, you just know you should stop? Like what is your signal to know I'm done for the day?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it depends on the day. Typically it's a time of day. I used to plan out a dessert as part of my meal plan. It used to be in my meal plan. I'd say, okay, I'm having this for dessert. But a lot of the times I'd get to the end of the day and I eat dinner pretty late. Probably about 8 and 9 o'clock sometimes. I try not to go that late. I try to actually go earlier. But I've always just been, that's kind of how my day works, because I make breakfast at home, but I actually don't eat it till I get to work. So I'm not eating breakfast till about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And so I'm eating lunch later, I'm eating dinner later. And so I've been listening to my body more and figuring, you know, if dinner has left me where I'm so full, do I need a dessert just because I wrote it down and just because I put it in my tracker? Am I actually hungry for that? Probably not. So I've done both, where I've, you know, eaten the dessert because I wrote it down and it's in my tracker and I planned for it and I have the points for it.
I'm going to power through.
Yeah, I'm going to eat it. I'm stuffed, but I tracked it. I'm going to eat it. So I've been trying not to do that as much, because I've been noticing that I'm just eating because I have the points for it, even if I'm full. And again, like I was talking about before, is that a healthy habit that I want to sustain and I want to, you know, keep with me? Because now that I've kind of gotten in the swing of things, I'm really paying more attention to, well, what's the habit that I want to take with me into my future? And, you know, what do I want to hold on to? And what are some things that are probably not the greatest that I can let go of? So yeah, I mean, that's been one thing where I've noticed that I've kind of just laid off the dessert. If I'm hungry though, I will absolutely go for it. You know? So absolutely. I think that's kind of my cue, where if I'm hungry, I mean, I usually eat dinner at the same time every day. And if I'm hungry, I'll have dessert. If not, I've usually gone to the gym and it's time to relax at that point.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And it's so healthy, I believe, to be able to get to the point to where you actually can know that what you're hearing is your body talking to you. Because I feel like it's really easy in that mindless state that we all kind of come to WWN to where I wouldn't even know what to tell you what it feels like to be hungry, because of all the habits that were leading me up to that point. And there's been times when I've been eating a meal that was actually weighed and portioned out exactly point for point what I wanted to do, and I couldn't finish it. And that amount would have been like at least half of what I would have previously eaten, with no thought of whether or not I would finish it. I'd be over there like licking the plate and getting bread and wiping it up and that kind of stuff. But I couldn't even finish that. And that is a new response to an old behavior. And that's what I call chasing an unmeasurable, because we can chase the scale. You know, the scale goes up or down, it tells a fact. But like when you have a new behavior for a previous behavior that's replaced, and you can't even like plan on seeing that, when it happens, you're like, ooh, that's new. I like that.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's definitely something that I used to eat just to eat. I was bored, I would eat. I was sad, I would eat. I was happy, I would eat. You know, that I didn't have to be hungry. And which is why I found WW. It just was food. And I mean, exactly like you're saying, it's, you have the points for it, you've planned for it. And when I first started, I mean, I think when I first started, and probably even the first year, I would say, so I would have my breakfast at a certain time, and then 2 hours later I would have a snack, and then 2 hours later I'd have lunch, and then I'd have another snack, and then you know, it was regimented, and I wasn't paying attention to whether I was hungry or not. It was almost a fear factor, where I was afraid that I'd get caught in being hungry. And I wouldn't know what to do, and I wouldn't make a wise decision, and I wouldn't grab the apple. So it was almost driven by fear, where I was on a schedule, and I've worked away from that schedule, because if I'm not hungry, what am I eating for? You know? I always go back. I was just telling someone the other day, and even just yesterday when I was stressful day, and it was like, oh, what can I eat? What can I eat? But am I hungry? And the answer is no. And if you're not hungry, then food is not the answer.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So on the journey, you've been going for a couple of years. Can you tell us like where you like started and where you are as far as like, are you goal, a lifetime? Are you still on the journey? Like
so close, so close. No, so I am, and this is funny. I always talk about this too, where I have this 75-pound charm curse. I've been chasing that 75-pound charm for about
I know, I told
years.
you, I said 75-pound smile, 75-pound smile.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because my weight loss on my Instagram account starts 3 pounds before my Weight Watcher journey.
Okay.
So once I hit that 78 on here, I've hit the 75 with WW. So I am very close to goal. And in fact, it's interesting. So when I very first started, and you open up the app, that's how I joined, is I just did it on the app. I did online only first. And they ask you, what's your goal weight? And you're like, well, this is probably not going to work anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And so the number that I picked was where I last remembered graduating high school at, which was kind of where I last remembered being most comfortable.
Okay.
So threw the number in there. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'll just get back to that. And then that's my goal. Well, what I didn't know is that WW has their healthy range for your height and, all that. And I wasn't even aware of that at the time. I just picked a number. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was getting close to that number that I'd kind of seen people talking about that on Instagram of, how there's this healthy range that you have to be in. And when you actually are in a studio, they talk to you about that and they ask you about that and they'll show you that chart. So I actually pulled it up on the website to figure out where that was for my height and did a lot of reflecting on that and felt that was actually a more comfortable number for me. And so I did hit that.
So that number was higher than what you had originally in your mind?
No, so it was lower actually.
Okay.
So I had originally picked 160. That was my magic number. And then so I'm barely 5'4". I say I'm 5'4", but I'm not quite there. But in my app, I'm 5'4". So
Damn tall.
Yeah, got the boots on. So I had actually decided I was getting close to that 160 number, and I was kind of just reflecting: is this where I want to be? Is this? I didn't think I'd even get close to it.
Yeah.
I just picked something. So once I started getting close to it, I really just started reflecting and took a lot of time and actually put thought into it instead of just being like, oh, here's a dartboard, let me throw a number out there.
Yeah.
And so I lowered it. And so I'm almost there, but not quite. I feel like they say, like, the closer you get, the slower it comes off, which is true. But it's also about your goals shifting a little bit as well. I mean, I feel like my goals have shifted so many times on this journey. And I mean, they're still shifting. I'm in a whole new gym goal mindset that I was never in before. I mean, even 6 months ago, I wasn't in it. So, I mean, those are new goals as well. So it's, I have this number to reach and I'm very close to it, but I also have more goals now of where I want to, things I want to do in the gym and things I want to tone and just being more physically fit and being able to do more and lift more and run further. And so
tell me, so like when you started your journey, what we can talk about activity a little bit. Like, so what was your activity level when you came in and first week?
It was a big goose egg.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing. And that was also part of the baby steps for me. It was something I had done in the past where I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on this really strict diet program. I'm going to work out 5 days a week and I'm going to push myself. And each time I did that, I fell off harder than I had started, So I knew that if I was going to do this and if I was going to do it right, I couldn't dive in head first. I had to figure out the nutrition first.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's what has worked for me. I know everyone's got what works for them. And I think that's what's so great is you can do this journey however works for you. But for
Yeah.
me, I couldn't get to the gym and do the nutrition at the same time when I first started. So I didn't.
Yeah.
And I knew that was realistic for me. I didn't want to set any unattainable goals that I wasn't going to reach and then I was going to feel bad about and,
Yeah.
you know, not continue with this because I knew it was the right decision. So I think it wasn't for probably about another 6 months or so where I started, I think I had joined Crunch Fitness and I just started going a couple days a week. If that, I mean, there were times where I wouldn't go at all for multiple weeks on end because it was, you know, I'm still figuring stuff out. And if I felt too pressured and it was too much, and pressured by meaning putting the pressure on myself, then I took a step back from that because I know that the nutrition for me is what's most important. Because I could go to the gym all day long, but if I'm not feeding my body what it needs, then it doesn't really account for much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was doing nothing and then I would go a couple days a week and then I would stop. And, you know, one piece of advice that I just kept seeing everybody talk about on Instagram is find what you love. Find what you love. If you don't like doing this, then don't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
so what's your go-to activity?
Yeah. So I started, trying different classes. You know, I didn't really know what it was that I loved. I grew up playing softball. That was my thing. I played that for 10 years. But as an adult, I mean, what am I going to go do? Play catch with myself? So it wasn't really, and I mean, there's only a certain season that you can do that. And what I figured in that is, well, I always had a coach telling me what to do. You know, it was go run laps or go do this. And I was like, okay. So I thought maybe if I go to a class with an instructor who's, you know, giving me direction, telling me what to do, maybe that'll do it. So I started trying different classes and just wasn't finding that thing. I never really found that spark that people were talking about, and I just kept chasing it. I will say, though, the class that I did like the most was a cycle class. When I went to a cycle bar class, that was fun. But they're expensive. So that was the other thing is, okay, find something you love, but also for me, it's got to be a little cost effective. So, I mean, I tried the online dance videos, the online hit videos, you know, just doing stuff for free at home, which worked for a little bit, but knowing myself, I had to kind of get real with myself. And working out at home, I was making a lot of excuses to half-ass it or, you know, do 20 minutes and then take a break and sit down. And it just wasn't working. I wasn't putting in my full effort. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I could sit there and argue with myself all day long, or I could change my environment. And so I decided to change my environment. I had stopped going to Crunch at the time and just canceled my gym membership because I had moved. This was probably about this time last year. And I started trying all the at-home workouts, and I just kept making excuses. And and then so a couple months ago, I signed back up for the gym, and I actually started a actual program with Jamie Esposito. She's on here as well. She's awesome. I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm just going to do a program. Again, that whole coach aspect. I've got it kind of outlined for you. And I love it. I actually do, you know, and I find myself, I'm in a actual like regimen now where I'm going 4 times a week, which is just crazy to me. I'm like, I didn't even want to go once a week.
Who is this person?
Once a month. Like,
nah.
But I'm going 4 times a week. And a couple weeks ago I was sick and I went once and I was like, it was.
Come on, internet. Oh, okay.
So yeah, anyways, now it's something I'm going 4 times a week. And yeah, like you said, it's like the whole different person, but I really enjoy it. I even went this morning so that I wouldn't clash and I'd be able to come on here in time. So
Yeah,
I'm just
that's awesome. Well,
finding
thank you.
ways to fit it into my schedule now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what happens within you as far as like how you approach your day or how you approach your food if you aren't able to make priority with something you've learned to love? Like what happens? What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, sorry, just got a text message distracting me there.
It's okay.
Um, I mean, the biggest thing for me is that if, and I'll notice it too pretty
Yeah.
quick throughout the week. I mean, like I was saying with my meal plans and stuff, if it's not something that I'm enjoying, I notice
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
If it's not something that I love, I mean, it's obvious to me. And I've had to do that before where I could say, okay, I'm going to throw in the towel this week because I don't like the meal that I made for all my lunches for the week. Or
Yeah.
I could come up with another game plan.
Hmm.
Um, and I've definitely had to do that. And sometimes it is a convenience thing. Sometimes you go to a Jack in the Box and you do order their salad with no croutons and no cheese, and you get your own dressing, or, it's just kind of learning how to make those adjustments when you find that you're not loving your routine.
Yeah,
Um, and I
absolutely.
think that's huge because and there's been weeks too where I haven't loved my routine and I've been like, you know what, screw this. Like I'm done with it. But
Yeah.
there's something about, for me, it's like I rarely ever miss my workshop. It's just as a reset moment for me to where I
Yeah.
don't carry that behavior on to the next week.
Yeah.
You go and you're able to talk about what went well and what didn't, and
Yeah.
hear other people talk about what went well and what didn't, and kind of tips and tricks to navigate your next week. But yeah, I mean, I think that's key, is being able to be flexible and just, I mean, roll with the punches and not let something crazy just ruin your whole week or your whole
Yeah.
day. Especially if it's not something you love, that's easy too. That's easy to fall into that trap.
Hmm.
But you gotta learn to jump on out of it and
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah.
moving.
Tell me if you've had this moment, and we can kind of flip over, and I would love to talk about mindset a little bit. But if this moment, like, okay, so when you're sitting here, and when you have, like, clearly you're right at 75 pounds lost, so that's a big number.
Yeah.
And when you think about holding all that weight, and it used to be all in the different spots of your body,
Mm-hmm.
you sit there and you have this dream or moment where you're thinking about, man, what would it be like if I did that? So it's almost like it's so big that maybe it's even unattainable, and you're like, I
Yeah.
can't move all these pieces to make that look like it makes sense.
Yeah.
So now you do all the work, all the meals, all those things,
Mm-hmm.
all those trips to the gym, all those times when you said yes, times you said no, and now you're here.
Yeah.
Can you imagine equally what it would be like to go back there? And that's that moment to where you
Mm-hmm.
totally flip the script on yourself,
Right.
to where, like, I can't even imagine getting to where I want to be. And then when you get where you want to be, I can't even imagine going back there. Like, I might have a bad day, but oh
Right.
my gosh, I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
Like, you've built these things into your life with these new healthy habits. We've inspired these healthy habits that have changed us. So, like, what do you feel like is truly the difference in the Mac now, in the Amanda that will not go back to
Mm-hmm.
that place? What is different?
It's just so, like, mind blowing to even think about going back. It's,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost makes you think, well, how did I get there in the first place? If I'm to this point
Yeah.
where that's unimaginable,
Yeah.
what led me there? And I think that is so important, to keep in mind, is what did lead you there? How
Yeah.
did you get there?
Mm-hmm.
And knowing how you got there, I think, is the biggest factor in being able to prevent going back.
Mm-hmm.
And I know exactly how I got there. I dealt with a lot. I mean, I still do. I deal with a lot of anxiety and depression, and I closed people off.
Yeah.
And it was, food became my friend. It was my comfort. It solved my problems,
Mm-hmm.
for the time being. And it was my everything.
Yeah.
And I think not losing sight of that
Mm-hmm.
is, for me, the biggest thing. I mean, like you said, it's just these habits that we've built. Like, I've spent 2 years building them. I can't imagine not doing them.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's time. I mean, I went on vacation over the summer, and that was the first time that I said, you know what, I'm going on a full on vacation. I'm not opening Instagram. I'm not opening my WW app. I'm not tracking a thing. And there were times where I would, I'd realize like, I'm not hungry. Like I'm not going to eat, or, but there were other times where I'd go to In-N-Out and I'd get a double burger and,
Yeah.
fully enjoy it. And I think that is what is kind of the key factor there is you can do that. You can still do stuff like that, and you can have a week where you go on vacation. You can have a weekend. You can have a couple days. It's been one of those things where you just, once you have those things, I mean, like once I got back, it was like, man, like I feel bloated. I just feel like I just need to get all these toxins out of me. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is you feel the way you feel and really paying attention to the way you feel and why you feel that way. Just needing to kind of detoxify and get the stuff out. I never felt like that before.
Yeah.
I never would. I mean, I would eat an entire medium pizza and still be looking for more.
Yeah.
Now I eat 3 slices and I am stuffed. I mean, it's just a totally different world, it almost feels like.
Yeah.
It's just crazy too. I mean, it's such a shift. But I think honestly it's just never forgetting how I got there in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's still trying to work on and still trying to build. And I think that's just kind of part of life. Like you build your habits and they're easy to break. It's hard to build a habit up. And once you stop doing it, it's kind of hard to get back into it.
Yeah.
But I had built a habit up of eating God knows how many calories a day, every single day.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point as well, you are hungry. Like you have expanded your stomach. You are hungry. Typically it's not always just emotional eating. You've done so much eating to where you actually are hungry for more. That's what we were talking about. You're to this point now where you're like, I used to be able to down that, no problem.
Yeah.
Why can't I do that now? Well, we actually have shrunk our stomachs, and so you are dealing with a different body inside and out. You can't necessarily do the things you used to do because it took a long time to get there. It's not just going to come back overnight. And I think that's the other thing too, is knowing it's not going to come back overnight. It took me a long time to get to where I was, years.
Yeah.
And I'm not going back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So a couple of things. One, like, I want to know, like, what is different about the way you see the person in the mirror? How do you feel different about her? And then through that, like, how do you feel like being able to talk and share your story and be an active influencer on Instagram and like start to do that, how that affected your success?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole another journey in itself. I mean, they all tie in together, but man, just being able to, because you're a totally different person. And pictures remind you of it all the time. Old videos, you get Facebook memories and time hop. And I mean, it's this weird kind of thing where you're like, well, that is me and I am that person, but I'm also this person now. And I think just knowing, I mean, like, I'm still the same person, but everyone grows and everyone learns and you keep learning new stuff every day. And it's not always easy. I mean, man, seeing that person in the mirror, I have some times where I'm like, am I a different person, or like, what's going on here? Like, it's that mind just trying to play tricks on you. I mean, that's been a whole process, but I think the biggest thing too is you gotta speak nicely to yourself. That's something I never used to do before, ever. And it's not even that I would actively tear myself down. I just would never notice anything positive about myself. And you got to notice your attributes as far as like being a good friend, being a good, partner, being a good employee. Just, I mean, really digging deep into what's inside is the biggest thing where I've been able to be more comfortable with myself on what's on the outside, and, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's been a struggle. I mean, it's been a battle as well, you know, go back and forth on it. Some days I'm like, I am feeling it. I'm, you know, freaking rock star. And other days I'm like, what am I doing? And, but you just got to know too. I think the biggest thing is, for me, having that anxiety, you're constantly worrying about stuff. You're never not thinking about something. But being able to kind of fight past it and be like, no, like, you look at how much work you've done. Like, you did this. Like, nobody else did this for you. You did it. Yeah. You know, and it's the same mind. It's, you know, you're one person, you got one brain. Sometimes it fights against each other, but it's all me. I did it all, you know. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think what's so cool about Instagram is that, and what brings us all together, is that we all get it, you know? Yeah. We're all going through the same thing. I mean, of course, some of us have different struggles than, you know, everyone else, and we are all different people, but we're all here and we're all a community and connected for a reason. And, you know, we follow each other's journeys for a reason, because we get it. And there's a lot of stuff that you relate to, and you think that, oh, I'm probably the only person going through this, but then you hop on here and it's like, no, there's so many other people going through this. There's so many other people that, you know, I can relate to, I can connect with. And, you know, and sometimes you're just posting something about your day and you're not even really thinking about it. And, you know, getting all the people who are like, yes, like, I agree with you. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I need to really think about that. But, you know, I think that's what's just so great, is we all are connecting for a reason, because we all get it. We're all going through the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And part of what you were saying a while ago, one of the things that it always makes me think about, when we go through these periods of like self-awareness, self-growth, it's so healthy to go back and make sure that as we think about the person that we were when we began this journey, not be upset at that person. Yeah. Because literally there's a lot of times when that person was doing the very best they could to get there. Absolutely. And you think about how hard it was to live those days compared to where we are now. Like, that dude carried around a weight that is hard for me to carry now. Like, I go to the gym and I purposely pick up 275-pound weights just so I can know what that feels like. Right. And that dude carried that around every step of the day for decades. Yeah. And so it's healthy to go back and like be in those moments and see what was feeling and knowing what was going on, and like give forgiveness to that person. Yeah. Because truly, this life that we get to live now is so much easier not carrying that weight. And that weight is a symptom of what that person was going through. So they need the love too. And as we do that, we connect these memories and these emotions and make them work and understand them. And it's so healing. It's so healing for us to do that. And I feel like a lot of us get upset and like, what was I thinking? And that kind of stuff. And that's not the mentality we need to carry into this journey, because truly that integration in our brain is healing.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I've had days too where I can think back and I was mad at myself and whatnot, but I also think back and I know how much I was dealing with mentally and emotionally. And if all I did that day was eat some extra calories, then I survived, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing too, is like you said, you can't harbor hate. You can't be mad at yourself. Because you're not moving forward. You're still holding on, and you can't grow and you can't, you know, continue to learn. I think that's the biggest part about this whole thing is, you know, forgive whatever you've done in the past, because you can only go forward. Yeah. And you can't hold on to, you know, what you did in it almost feels like a previous life sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like so much mentally and so much emotionally where the weight is a symptom. Yeah. And that's so true. So the fact that the weight is a symptom and I still made it out and survived, you know, whatever else was trying to bring me down, and, you know, the depression and the anxiety, and it's a hard battle. And if I gained weight from it, but I still made it out, I can recover from that. you know,
Yeah,
and I can forgive
absolutely.
that person and I can have sympathy for that. And, you know, I can grow stronger from that because I've been there and I can go up, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. And that's just another fruit of this great community, especially on here, Facebook, Instagram, Connect, all the places, because there's days when you can see your way out or you see a glimmer, and then there's days when it's just so cloudy and you can't. And you have to have those habits built in there that
Mhm.
allow for the sustained living that gets you through those periods when it doesn't make sense or it's not
Right.
clear or the objectives aren't coming. Like when there's a stall on the scale and we
Mhm.
put so much value into that, but
Yeah.
like if we put the value in the fact that, hey, I did the plan and I don't care what the scale says,
Yeah.
and I know people want to have value in the scale because that is a good metric to track and it's
Yeah.
fine. And I still celebrate when I have a big loss and that kind
Oh
of stuff.
yeah.
But, it means more to me the messages I get when I share something silly and somebody is like, oh man, that's true and that makes so much sense or whatever, or man, that post was so inspiring. That
Yeah.
kind of thing means more to me because I know that my life has a value for me because I'm getting to live it and it has a value that I'm able to share with others. And I think that's what this community really does. It really brings us together so that we can see that value. Life is
Yeah.
way more about me getting to live this life for me and for my family and for everyone I get to impact,
Right.
way more than me just being really, really good at losing weight.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. And I had started this account because I just wanted people to talk to, you know.
Yeah.
I had my own personal account where when I started, and I don't even know how I got into it. Honestly, I don't know if I
Yeah.
searched a hashtag or I don't even remember how I started following people, but I did. And after a while, I just felt like, man, I want to interact with these people more and I want to
Yeah.
post more on my stories. And I just felt like I needed to create a separate community for that, and
Yeah.
I've got all of my friends from high school, my family and whatnot, and I made it very public to them, like, hey, if this is something you're interested in, hop on over to Mac
Yeah.
Market, follow me on there because that's where I really want to dive in. And
Yeah.
I just wanted more people to talk to, more people to connect with, and wanted to post more for accountability. And I mean, that's where it started. And then it's like I think I've only had this account for about a year and a half or so. And you just, like you said, you post something about your day, you post something funny or something that spoke to you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a quote, whatever it is. And the response that you get from that sometimes, where you get someone who says, man, I really needed to see this today. And that is just like, I mean, it hits you different. It like you said, you're doing this for different reasons. You have an impact. You're not just really, really good at losing weight.
Yeah.
You can take that, and people, sometimes they just need to hear a message. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes that's what I'm on here for. I just need to hear a message sometimes. And just that one thing that kind of pushes you to keep going.
Yeah.
I've had people reach out to me as well, just saying like, wow, like, you're going through the same things that I'm going through. And it just makes me feel like I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And it just, it's crazy. I mean, it means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've got like 7 minutes, so I'm gonna get a little more lighthearted here before Instagram cuts us off at the 1 hour. But I want to know a couple of things real quick.
Yeah.
One is what's your like go-to thing that you love to cook? Like, it is, if you had a recipe that is Mac motivated, what is that recipe? And then what is the funnest thing you've eaten while you're on WW? And then the third one, you have to answer this one third, is what's the maddest you've ever been at your dang dog? And then,
oh man, okay. Let's go back to number one. Gosh, man, that's a hard one. I love to just experiment. I mean, I think that my staple that people have messaged me and been like, how the hell do you do that? And it's so simple. It's my veggie omelets.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple. I don't know how. And what's funny? That's actually what I started with, because I was like, it just is so simple. And I wasn't quite to that point where I was ready to experiment and get creative. And I just was making omelets every single day. And I wasn't getting sick of them. And I got really, really good at making them.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And and that's why I just keep it simple. But man, I love to create. I think probably the most fun that I have in the kitchen is when I'm making a pizza. You know,
Okay.
it's like a blank canvas. You just start with your dough.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes it's what do I have in the fridge? Sometimes you're trying
Yeah.
to recreate your favorite pizza that is really, really high point, and you're doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
I
You use
think that's
biz dough?
where, what's that?
You use biz dough?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I used 2-ingredient dough for the longest until I discovered skinny pizza dough. And
Yeah.
I just don't see how you go back after that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I couldn't.
I need to get a baking steel dough like she has. That's on my list.
That's right. You should follow them and then see if they'll send you one.
Yeah. Good plan.
That's right. All right. So tell me the answer to the third question. This is hilarious.
Okay. I would say, man, my dog. I love him. Love him. He's actually here because he lives with my mom now.
Okay.
But I would say the maddest that I think I had ever been, I had just purchased a bunch of Devotion Nutrition protein powder. That stuff's not cheap.
No.
And I bought the packets because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to buy the whole tub. I bought the packets online. I want to say it was like a 24-pack. And the way I'm trying to set the scene here, the way my kitchen is set up, I don't have like your typical pantry. I have this big island with a bunch of drawers on it. So I use one of the bottom drawers, one of the biggest drawers, as my pantry.
Okay.
And so all the Devotion Nutrition went into my little pantry along with, everything else that I have. And at some point, after moving into this smaller apartment, he figured out how to slide that drawer open. I don't know how he figured it out. I mean, probably just bored roaming around. What can I get into? And I came home after work one day, and I just, the second you walk in the door, something's wrong. And he's over in the corner. He's not at the door. Something's wrong. So any dog owner knows that.
Yeah.
And I look, kind of glancing towards the kitchen, and I just see all 24 packets strewed about my whole living room. They're on my couch. I've gotten rid of the couch since then, but just where and the packets they're like a foil packet, so it's not very easy to get into for him. But there just was protein powder everywhere.
Oh, man.
All over my living room, all over the couch, just everywhere. And he does this thing where he hides, but he's still wagging his tail. Am I going to be in trouble? Am I good? Oh, man, I just was so mad at him for that. But he just is, man, I think maybe, 20 minutes, and then they start licking you and wagging their tail and their dumb, cute little face. And,
that's so funny. I count a few times when you've been like, "God, dog."
Yeah. Oh man, he just was such a little turd. But he just gets so and I used to think that I used to feel bad and think that, man, he's been home for so long and that's why he's getting me stuff, until I caught him one day. And I had left, realized I forgot something. So I immediately, maybe 30 seconds later, went back into my apartment. He was already in the kitchen, paws on the counter, busted. I'm like,
like a teenager.
That's when I figured out he waits until that door closes and he's ready to go.
No, that's funny. That's funny. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, but I always leave the last couple of minutes if you have any questions for me. Well, you've been following me for a long time, so if you ever wanted to know something about me.
Man, I don't have any questions, but one thing that I just want to say that I love about your account and what you've been doing recently is to ask you any questions, to text you if anyone needs help. Your DMs are always open.
Yeah.
That's something that, man, I totally admire about you is you're always willing to help. And you've even put the phone number up there recently, text you, DMs are open, and it's just any time of day you put up a post. I think that's so awesome. I don't know how you have the time for it. I think, being a WW coach that's just in you. Yeah, man, I think that's just awesome.
Yeah, well, I thought, there are other people that have done that, and if I do that and it causes me a little bit of pain, whatever, answering people's questions, but if it's there, and I have had people send me messages and stuff that probably needed to talk to somebody, and I'm not saying that I'm like any kind of line that you should call. If there is a line you should call, the number's out there to call that line. If you just need somebody to talk to because whatever, there's plenty of food reasons to call me. Or if you want to talk sports, it doesn't matter. That's just one of the things I was like, I can put that out there.